Every win is an important win for the Guardians at this point, but especially after the news they received about their top prospect during the day. Guardians get a win on Wednesday night. We'll talk about what that injury news does for the Guardians as they head into 1 week left into the trading deadline.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on into the only daily podcast on the hottest team in the American League, your Cleveland Guardians. This is Locked On Guardians, where we cover the Cleveland Guardians from the minors, the majors, the draft, and everything in between. Our favorite half hour of the day. We hope it's yours. I am Justin Lada. I have been co-hosting this podcast with my friend and coach Jeff Ellis since October of 2022. I've also provided scouting reports, minor league analysis, and reporting since 2007 for the News Herald, the Morning Journal, and Next Year in Cleveland, as well as Prospects Live and many other places. But my most important one is here with you, Jeff, all 5 days of the week.
Well, I should do my introduction, but I kind of first want to call you out on your cold open. Their top prospect over a top prospect? Because then that makes it seem like DeLauter is the top prospect if you say their top prospect.
He was the prospect that was closest in proximity to being up. Therefore, in that sense, he's top. But no, he's not above Bazana, who is also red hot.
As he mentioned, on top of being very pedantic, I am Jeff Ellis, your host here. And
when are you not?
I have been since the very beginning. One of the first people Locked On brought on. Before that, I was a national writer at Scott 24/7, focused on prospects in the draft, where I wrote for, like I said, this was my 16th year covering the draft. I want to thank everyone for making Locked On Guardians your first listen today and every day, wherever it is that you get podcasts, as well as a big shout out to all of our everydayers. I didn't get to dive into the comments too much today. I was also a little afraid to with some of the doom and gloom, but I know you're out there and I appreciate all the support comments and a lot of kind words yesterday that I got on Twitter. I didn't write down those names, but thank you to everyone.
Yes, thank you all. Yeah, you've always been pedantic. You're right from the beginning. That was your.
I have been.
Yeah, you've always been pedantic.
I'll own that.
On today's show, though, we got to talk trades. It's 1 week left to the trading deadline. We'll talk about the rumors surrounding the Guardians. We'll talk about some trade ideas we had. We'll take some listener submitted trade ideas. We pitched Logan Allen as a piece yesterday, so we'll get into that today. We, of course, have to cover the Chase DeLauter news and the fact that he has a hamate injury. We'll talk about the impact of that on the Guardians and also what that means for his future as well. But, Jeff, we got to start off with another win. And I think I'm most impressed tonight by the fact that the Guardians didn't have as much offense, right? We've seen them score a ton of runs since the break, and the pitching staff's been fine. It's not like they couldn't have won those games, but there were some games they gave up some runs, and they needed those, runs, scoring 6 runs, scoring 8 runs. Tonight, 3 runs, and Slade Cecconi, once again, fantastic. Not missing a lot of bats, but gets them into the 6th inning. The starting pitching continues to roll. The bullpen was great. I'm glad to see them use Nick Enright where they did. He looked fantastic. Jose Ramirez continues to be amazing. And Brian Rocchio, no hits on this one, but another stellar defensive play. I don't know, Jeff. I think we're getting closer every day to the professor getting his name back.
We'll have to see. I'm still not going to fully commit to any nicknames for any player.
Jeff's holding out on that one.
Anytime soon. I am.
You keep every time comments are hits a home run, you always say, what do you call that? What do you text me with? Mustache mash?
Stash smash. But I don't push it out there. I'm not pushing it as a nickname, and I am not reactionary. I'm not going to take 2 weeks worth of data and say he's healed, he's fixed, he's the next thing. It's got to be something longer than that. Let's be very honest.
Okay.
I got to get at least a month before I have a big enough sample size to say anything.
Fair enough. But at least the Guardians, that's why I said I think you can judge a team by how well they're playing. Is obviously, maybe we should have applied this to the 10-game losing streak too, but you never judge a team by when they're the hottest. You never judge them by when they're at their worst. Guardians were at their worst before the All-Star break, just until the Houston series, and now they're at their best of the season, without a doubt. So we want to be careful on the judgment. They're at their hottest too. But I always like to gauge a team how they're playing if they can win in multiple ways. Because, they were winning with offense the last couple of games, hitting the ball quite a bit, getting themselves some nice big leads. And obviously the pitching's been fine, but when you can turn around and win the next night 3-2, I think that says a lot about where you're at. And again, no stupid mistakes. Like that's what they're not beating themselves. That's been the most important thing during the stretch.
No, I agree. It's one of those things where it's just been clean baseball and they're doing all the little things you need to see them do. And for me, one of the big things is like every time something goes kind of minorly wrong, like the game gets tied up or something, just the way they've come roaring back, like the way that the offense, and I think it's very important from where they were, where it seemed like they didn't believe in themselves. Like they were down in the dumps in that losing streak, as anyone would be, let's be honest. But at the same time, like the way that they were able to kind of find that confidence that they desperately needed to find again. And they did. And I think we're seeing that they have a lot more faith and belief. And there's also that degree of like Bo Naylor had the big hit today. We've talked about this off air. He has been awful. Like, I don't want to sugarcoat it, but like his metrics show that he is also maybe, I think he has to have the worst BABIP in baseball. It's below 200. I've never seen one that low. It's like, there is a degree of luck that maybe he could start to poke closer to average. And it's little things like that. We're not asking for stars. We're just asking for guys who've been
F's to C's,
F's to D pluses, like we're not even, a C is fantastic, but I'll take what I can get.
Yeah, you didn't have your normal hot bats. Like Quan got on base twice in this one. Angel did draw a walk, so you didn't have the top of the order necessarly pushing it.
Quan had the big hit, right? He did.
Yeah, he did. He had the go-ahead hit. You're right. That drove in Bo Naylor. He scored on that, so that was the big hit, the 8th inning that brought him back. And then that was obviously big to take it that late too, because the Orioles bullpen hasn't been like great, but it's also got some scary arms. Like Colin Selby, his ERA is kind of high, but the stuff is good. Cano's been good. I think the other guy that was big in their bullpen, I think he's back in AAA. I think Felix Bautista. I think he's in AAA.
Is he? I haven't looked.
Yeah,
he's been a guy that people have talked about him at the deadline, so that'd be a big fall apart.
Yeah, he's in AAA right now, I think. Or no, maybe he's on the injured list. I'm looking through their list right now. I can't.
Brandon Young's already back in the minors after the start yesterday.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I feel like Bautista is their closer. Cano is.
Yeah, I was gonna say I thought he's having a strong year.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Those guys. Yeah, Cano is the one that's been struggling. You're right. Bautista's having a great year, so I messed that up. Yeah. But yeah, so it's a scary bullpen for the Orioles. I mean, Dominguez is okay. Their bullpen's not terrible, so that's you don't want to go late with that team and have to claw back. And Zach Eflin was really good, and I thought Slade Cecconi was just as good. He matched him pitch for pitch all game. And look, at some point, I don't want to be negative here. At some point, like Slade Cecconi's metrics maybe don't match up to the results. He doesn't miss a whole lot of bats. You start to worry about that, but it's kind of hard to sit there and think about it too much right now because they're winning and he's pitching good. So like, I haven't seen a start where I'm like, this doesn't look good. He's not going to like every start. I mean, at some point the league's going to get a book on him and they're going to adjust. But ever since I think the Cincinnati start was the one, or was the Angel start? They ended up winning that game. That's the last time he had a start where I can remember like, wow, he doesn't look good today. Like every other start, even when not missing bats, like he still is out there in control, getting deep. The command is definitely the best thing. I think it's been a big difference for him this year.
Yeah, I mean, would this team be better offensively with Josh Naylor? Yes. I think as a team, they're still better with Slade Cecconi because the gap between what they'd be doing without him is pretty big. Like I like Parker Messick, but he's not proven. We don't know how it's going to transfer. We've seen a lot of guys struggle with that. Like having a guy who's come out and done this year has just been huge for this team. So just constant kudos to Slade.
Yeah. The Guardians, though, they do have some pitching depth, at least a little bit. One name we didn't even talk about yesterday was John Means, but we'll get into some trades in the third segment today involving pitching and definitely not Slade Cecconi, but Slade Cecconi is a big part of why that feels maybe it's the right time. It could be affordable for them to do. But first, we got to talk about the one guy who probably won't be helping them in 2025. That's Chase DeLauter and his injury coming up next here on Locked On Guardians.
But first, got to talk about our brand new sponsor. You can see the hat, you can see the gloves, you can see it all here. Let me do the official read. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Day Hue. And so is the hat I'm wearing. For Guardians fans like me, this one hits the mark. Game Day Hue makes clean, no logo gear with team-inspired colorways for every pro and college fan base. It's all about letting your colors speak for you. No giant logos, just smart, versatile style that works on game day, on the course, or anywhere in between. I love this idea. So often in my past, I've wanted things that, don't jump out and are labels. Like I love the idea of just kind of a plain, clean look. I have in the past refused to buy hats because I'm like, I don't want to be a walking billboard. You can show your fandom. A smart fan's going to know who you are, what you like. And, it's a nice, smooth look. And can I point out the back? Nice aeration as well. Important on a hot day. And it's not just hats. Check out their split shade gloves made for the golf course, or the perfect gift for the fan who has everything. And right now you can get 15% off with code MLB15 at GameDayHue.com. That's GameDayHue.com. The code even stacks on bundle deals, so now's the time to load up. That never happens. Let your colors talk, because colors speak louder than words. That's GameDayHue.com. Code MLB15.
Thanks for being here with us on Locked On Guardians every day. We hope we're part of your daily rotation. Make sure you are downloading on all of your audio platforms, wherever you get us, because we are on every podcast platform that comes right to your feed. And hit the bell on YouTube for every episode, as well as reaction videos to games, breaking news like the Chase DeLauter thing that we're going to talk about right now, MLB Squad Show, all that good stuff. And if you're feeling froggy, we could use a new Apple podcast review to push down some trolls. So if you're up to that, we would love that too. Speaking of trolls, Jeff, I think the universe is just trolling us. Or it's trolling poor Chase DeLauter. Out 6 to 8 weeks with a hamate surgery now. And this is what I said a couple weeks ago, Jeff, when this popped up. I said, I swear to God, I hope it's not a hamate injury. And then they said they had to send him to a specialist. And as soon as you hear that word, going to a specialist, usually doesn't mean anything good. And now this is a bad surgery for a power hitter, a guy with power. This is a bad 100%. Surgery for any hitter. It takes guys a lot of time to come back from this and not just like recover, but also fully get back. Like getting back onto the field in 6 to 8 weeks is one thing, but recovering your strength, getting comfortable with the swing again. Like, and I also want to stress too, like I know we're going to get into the debate of like, can't stay healthy, all this stuff. He took a foul ball, or he took a pitch in batting practice off his wrist. It can happen to anybody. It really can. And it's just, again, it happened to Chase DeLauter because this is where things have been going for him. And he's been playing through this injury for weeks. So the reason they haven't been calling him up is because he's been playing through the injury. And it sounds like the Guardians knew that, which again, I'm still at a loss for words for having him play through the injury. You would have maybe wanted to get that addressed sooner and realized the outcome was going to be surgery. But I guess they were hoping they were going to have a chance to call him up and he could play through it, but it just got too painful. And that's why he was out before the All-Star break. And I don't know, man. It's just one thing.
I think it leads more credence to your idea that he kept quiet and was trying to tough out.
Yeah, that's yeah. Because he was so close to that call up and clearly he was playing through it. But then doesn't make sense because then there was no reason not to call him up then if they didn't realize that.
Unless he was like reporting general soreness at points and saying it was about something else, and that's why he couldn't play against other games.
Maybe he was saying like it was manageable. He thought it was going to be manageable. Yeah. He could play through it, and the Guardians, I guess, trusted him. If that. Well,
I think it could even be that he just didn't tell him. It was like, oh, my side is acting up or whatever it was. The last injury was, what was it? It was the hernia. Like he could say it's something else bothering him. Like my wrist's a little sore today. It's nothing big though. Like I think you're in one of those situations.
This is now 3 surgeries for him since he's been pro. He said 4 surgeries, right?
He's had 2 in the last 6 months.
Yeah, 2 on the foot because one was in college, one was in the pros because he refractured it. Then he had the hernia surgery back in spring training, and now it's the hand surgery. So that's 4 injuries since he's been drafted. And by the way, Jeff, he's only been in pro ball 4 years.
Well, I had a lot of people being like, well, this is someone who has not been healthy since college. I'm like, he wasn't healthy in college. Like, very honest.
Yeah,
like,
not since college. He wasn't healthy then either.
No, the healthiest he ever was the Cape Cod League before his draft year. That is the longest stretch. I don't think he's played. Has he had 2 months without some kind of injury in Cleveland's minor league system? I don't think he's gone 2 months without injury in his career. And you're playing with fire. You drafted a guy who had the potential to go number 1 overall, who put up phenomenal numbers this year in the minors. For people out there, Tony Lastoria tweeted at me today. I sent it out there, any old fans, since we were both at that part of the concern always has been the wrist because of just the violence and the cutoff of his swing. So it's not shocking that kind of with the way that swing goes, that the wrist would be, an area of concern in general. But this was kind of a freak situation. But I point out, an injury-prone guy is a guy who has a million different freak injuries, and that's what he's had. It was the feet, and then it's something else. And it's something that is a guy whose body can't hold up to what he's putting it through. Like at the highest level, there are those players who just sometimes can't hold up, and it stinks. It's unfortunate, but he fell to 15 for a reason. He was a guy who a lot of people had as a favorite to go number 1 overall, and he fell to 15 because he couldn't stay healthy in college.
I'd probably guess if you look back that might have been a little bit more overhyped for the 1-1 situation because he is still coming from a small school, and
he was, but he dominated the Cape, and he had all the physical tools, and he had the high level of production, and he was at least going to be like a top 5 guy just based on that. We've seen some small school guys go top 5, and then he got hurt again and only played a month and a half of his final year, and then he got hurt before that, and he's gotten hurt every year. And people are like, well, he should have been called up. He would have gotten hurt up in Cleveland. Like this is, and he needed to amp up. Do I think maybe they should have called him up about a week and a half, 2 weeks before this? Yeah, but
the wrist injury goes back 2 weeks before he actually he finally said something. So we're talking early July is when this started to creep up for him. Even before that, so before that,
late June. And that's the thing, like this isn't a video game. This isn't MLB The Show. This isn't something like that. Guys legitimately need to ramp up. Like that ramp up needs to happen for everyone. And he missed all of spring training. So he had to go down to the minors and work through it for a bit and get comfortability. And they were trying to slow play it to build up health. And I know it's more important with pitchers than hitters, but it's a guy
for a guy with his injury history.
It's very important. And it's at the end of the day, it's just he is essentially in the 3 years since they drafted him probably had as many games as the average player has in one. Like that's just the story of his entire career going back to college. I don't know what it was like in high school. Maybe he had injury issues in high school, and that's why a guy with his talent ended up at James Madison. But I mean, he's got 138 total games in 3 seasons in the minors. 138 games in 3 years. That's not good.
He makes Byron Buxton look healthy.
Yeah, I mean, he played in his 3 seasons of college 66 games.
Yeah.
Now, one of those is a COVID year, but like he played 16 and 26, and then the year before that was 16 was the COVID year, 26 was the next year, and this freshman year he played limited as well because of injury. He just, there's been a myriad of concerns with him, but the number one thing is the health. And the health, I mean, he's right now, if he doesn't play another game this year, which is likely, if I try to do super quick math, we're talking about a guy averaging under 50 games per season.
Yeah, it's not like you could send to the AFL for a third straight season either. Like there's no point. I mean, again, the wrist injury, the freak hit by pitch thing that can really happen anywhere. The other stuff, you're right. Like I agree. Like they could ramp him up in AAA and have less pressure on him to play, but to me, Chase DeLauter is a guy trying to get called up anyway, so I don't think his level of intensity of play changes in AAA or the majors. I think he plays the same way because he's trying to get called up anyway. So
but he needed to get that exposure. You really hadn't gotten much in AAA, and as we've seen with like a lot of top prospects, the Christian Campbells, the Jack Cagliones, all of those guys have massively struggled in the transition.
I think he had enough. I think he had enough exposure. The only question was going to be,
he had 6 games in AAA before this year.
No, I'm not saying like right away, but I'm saying like the beginning of the middle of June when he was crushing it. Like he could have done it because again, he's going to play 100% no matter what because he knows he wants to get called up and get noticed. He's not taking any plays off. So I don't think the intensity changes between AAA and the majors.
I don't think
it's just the frequency of.
Yeah, it's
I think it's no, it is about intensity because
I don't think anyone's not intense because they all want to get called up.
I'm not saying that, but I'm saying you're trying to ramp him up in a conscious way or a way that makes sense for him being a player first thing. But the question was, could you afford to call him up with your? That's why I said people roast me for it. And that's fine, but I said you didn't call him up because your roster isn't perfect. Because you can call him up if your roster is built the right way, and you can have him sit for a game or two and show that restraint in the majors. But when you have David Fry and Nolan Jones and Jonathan Rodriguez and all these stupid things that don't fit, you can't also have Chase DeLauter up there right either. Like you got to make a hard decision, and they weren't willing to do that. That's why DeLauter didn't quite fit. And now it's very.
It was just they didn't feel he was ready. It's
Well, if
such
they
a small
weren't willing,
sample.
it was either way. It was a bad choice because
I don't think you can say that 100%.
I do, because I think you could put if you align the roster a little bit better. I would rather align the roster to fit a guy like that, where I can say, I
I
can
think
only play 3 or
we
4
should
games a
continue
week.
this debate after the break
All right,
before
we'll
we do
get back
trade
to more
chatter.
Chase DeLauter, and then we'll get into some trade rumors. We got some submitted trade rumors and other stuff coming up on the rest of this episode of Locked On Guardians. Well, the trade deadline's coming up, so a lot of teams maybe are hoping to add payroll, or maybe some are hoping to shed payroll. Managing your money can be a lot easier with Monarch Money. So if you're trying to grow your savings, maybe you're planning a big purchase. I just bought some stuff for my home office, so I had to put some money into that. I'm throwing a surprise retirement party on Sunday. I put money into that. So I need to get back on track with my goals, and that's where Monarch Money can put me in the driver's seat. It can do the same for you. It's like having your own personal CFO. Gives you full visibility and control of your finances, more than just other budgeting apps. It gives you a total financial command center to see all your accounts, check all your investments, and have those difficult conversations with your significant other, tracking the same accounts and goals and all the cards in the same way. So it's much easier to do all that kind of stuff. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKED10MLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. All right, so I think the Guardians could have configured their roster in a way where you can make a guy like Chase DeLauter fit. If you have to show the restraint of, okay, this guy can only play 4 days a week, we gotta only play him 3, or play him out of the 6 or 7. If you build your roster in the way to make that work, to get the best talent on your roster, and say 4 games of Chase DeLauter is better than however many games of Jonathan Rodriguez or David Fry, whatever it is, whatever decision you want to make him fit, your team is better for those games, whether you like it or not, because even if it's difficult because you have a guy on your bench you're trying to, and I understand the difficulties it causes your roster to do that, but it also makes your roster better in those games anyway. And he is one of your best 13 hitters in the organization, and they just never did it. And I see both sides of it, but I also see that they could have made it work if they wanted to.
30 games, right? Because it's a smaller sample. Like almost no one gets called up that quickly from this org. They really dive into the data and they're looking for very specific things. I get it was a great 30 games.
You're excusing that that's okay.
No, I'm not, because I see so many guys in the minors have a great month and then it falls apart on them. Like
Christian Campbell's back in AAA for Boston. Yeah. And he's terrible in AAA.
He can't hit at all. But we've seen a lot of guys actually go down to AAA after getting a call up and they fall apart and can't hit after a struggle at the big league level, and they lose a bigger. And I think that's part of the calculus. Is it's not just Christian Campbell. I'm trying to think, was it Josh Young isn't hitting after a like a lot of players, it's like they get sent down to AAA and
Josh Young had 3 seasons and now he's back in AAA.
But there's been a few guys that get down there and after you're demoted, they play worse, and then you have to help them recoup and get better. So it's like I was willing to call him up at the end of July, knowing that like it could go very, very poorly. Like that this was a situation where, and if he gets, then how long of a look do you give him based on how the team's going? You're calling him up while you're trying to contend. And then it's a situation where if he's not playing well, then they're not going to play him. And poor roster construction or not, you can find ways to play him. You can send down a J Rod who was not playing that much.
Yes,
but I'm saying
that was my whole point.
But I'm saying they could have still done it. But I don't think it was one of those things that they, as much as everyone wanted to see him, and as much as the numbers were great, that's small sample size because of the lack of health and because of the situations there.
I was okay with a small sample because of the data, just because all the indicators like the chase rate, contact, exit velocity, like all the stuff there was good. All the stuff I thought would translate well. Now that doesn't mean he wasn't going to struggle. It's just that it was time for him. I think it was time for him to get major league exposure, and you can't adjust to major league pitching without seeing it, and you're not seeing it in AAA. But that doesn't matter now because he's not going to see the field again probably this year. Like, and we don't even know, like with all the injuries he's had, who knows what kind of healer he's going to be in the first place.
The other thing we didn't mention, so hamate, I dug into the data on this because one of the long-standing things on a hamate injury is that it saps your power for a year. What it actually does is you hit it as hard, but the the incision is a painful one. It's a cut. The scar is painful for a while, and it affects players' swings. And it takes almost a full year for a player to get back their swing correctly. So it's not necessarily the power goes away, but it seems to have, and you can go look at my Twitter. I tweeted, it's an old article, but someone did the data on it from Beyond the Box Score, which is a great site back in the day, about how it takes, and I know Jose was fine, but Jose's a unicorn. And, it was at Santana, it was someone else.
Clearly DeLauter's not a unicorn.
Yeah. But it's like, for the most part, it messes up swings. It takes almost a full year for players to fully recover from hamates. And that's just been one of those long-standing things in baseball. Hamate injury saps power for a year. It doesn't really sap power. It's that it messes with the swing due to the way the injury affects your hand and how you react to things.
Yeah, so no guarantees that how he looks when he comes back. And I have a hard time believing that he'll get back off the IL even if it's September and the Guardians be like, all right, we're calling him up, because what's going to happen. He's going to, if he does somehow get off the IL this year and recovers, they're not going to rush him back. So
like I said, with that hamate, he's going to have so few at bats, and he's not going to.
Yeah, I think there's like a less than a 1% chance of seeing him anywhere playing baseball again in 2025. So see you in 2026, Chase, and hopefully he's the opening day right fielder. I don't know. Let's talk about other guys who could be on the roster, whether it's going to be next week, whether it's next year. Jeff, you talked yesterday about with Shane Bieber coming back, which, by the way, I also want to point out a lot of their. Let's address this first. We could have spent more time on this, but we're not going to. Jeff Passan of ESPN did put out that, like, Shane Bieber, he said, let me look at the exact quote so I don't mess this up, but because I had a couple people text me about this, and I was like, the wording is very vague, so I'm not sure how much I buy this, but it is Jeff Passan. And when it comes to information, not his own analysis, but information, he's much better. So he said
breaking information. He's not really out in front on like, this guy is going to sign. Like, once the deal is done, he knows. But beforehand, we don't get as well.
He said Shane Bieber, who has come back from Tommy John surgery, made his first start Tuesday in Lake County and is available. So he straight out said is available. So Jeff Passan is on the record of saying he has heard that Shane Bieber is available. So I don't know. We'll see who, I know there was a lot of scouts there. I saw a Red scout tonight in Lake County too. So I don't know if the Reds were there last night or in on him there. If they keep Shane Bieber, you and I toyed around with the idea of trading Logan Allen, because we didn't even mention yesterday that John Means will be here at the end of the year. He'll also be here next year. Plus you got Parker Messick, Slade Cecconi. We're just going to forget Luis Ortiz exists. We did get some submissions for the Logan Allen thing. And I agree with this one a little bit.
Logan Allen for Aaron Judge straight up. Okay. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that sounds like we want to call that in right now. Actually, I'm pretty sure that the Yankees would love to do that trade, and none of the Yankees fans would freak out. But there are also Yankees people who think that they're going to get Jose Ramirez too. So they're in a very different world of their own. But no, one of our everydayers, Jacob Ronnie, talked about the similarities to Trevor Rogers. Now, Logan Allen doesn't have the upside of Trevor Rogers, but Trevor Rogers was like a little flash in the pan. He's been better this year. But, the Marlins did get Connor Norby and Kyle Stowers for him, which was a good deal. So maybe you can get, like, not that version of it, but something close. Like, it's hard to find a comp for this deal because Logan Allen is like a fifth starter and he does have a lot of control. So, like, you're balancing, like, control's great, but your upside's limited. So what are you really going to get for him? And my thought was, like, I think if you want to get someone like the Red Sox want to trade Jarren Duran, I would be okay. Jarren Duran's fallen off this year. I'd be okay with Allen for Duran personally.
I don't think they would.
I don't think they would either. It doesn't seem to fit their type. But I don't think you're going to get Weiler or Abreu for him either. Like, I just don't think.
No, you're definitely not getting him. Abreu's having a huge year.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to trade Weiler or Abreu. So you'd have to, if you somehow wanted to get him, you'd have to include, like, I don't know, Jason Churio or maybe even a first baseman, because again they're rolling out Abraham Toro at first base. I don't think Carlos Santana gets it done. So I don't know. I don't think that's realistic, but it's just a hard thing to balance on what he could be worth.
So I also don't think they want to trade him in the American League. Like, you don't want to make a trade that could help your teams you're chasing. Yeah. So for me, I looked at the Dodgers and I pulled up the prospect savant data. And again, I looked at Dalton Rushing, who does not chase as well as his other data. At
You're
least
not
in
getting
the minors.
Dalton Rushing though for Logan Allen.
But that's why I am trying to offer Dalton Rushing and Franco Alamán, where the Dodgers need relief help as well, and maybe feel like they could fix him. I'm willing to trade a secondary piece to try to get you close. I mean, I don't
think Alamán's got that much value.
I think rushing. I think Duran's got a lot more value than rushing right now, and the Dodgers have.
What? No way.
Yeah, I mean, Duran was an MVP candidate a year ago. Rushing is a guy who's never even proven himself as an everyday player yet. He's a guy who's been a backup,
but he plays a more valuable position.
I mean, Duran can play center field. Like, he was an MVP candidate a year ago. There's no world where Duran is not more valuable than rushing. Rushing is a backup who's never proven himself. Duran was a 7-win player last year. In the last 3 years,
keep that either.
Yeah, but the last 3 years, he's had a WRC plus is over 100. He's been one of the big things last year was he's a positive defender, and this year he's
I can't imagine a fifth starter and a relief prospect who is an enigma is going to land you Dalton Rushing, though.
No, probably not. No, it's maybe you have to pony up a little bit more in terms of the problem is I don't know. Like, this is where if you had Walters, I would say Walters, to make it something really interesting. But I don't know.
I don't see it.
What the piece is. I know in our comments, Scott Hauser, who's an everydayer, mentioned Allen and Rejo for Sanchez from Miami. Miami doesn't want.
I don't hate that.
No, Miami doesn't want Allen. Why would they want a starting pitcher? No. I joke about the Logan Allen for Aaron Judge because that's from Matt Kay. Paul Binder brought up Logan Allen and George Valera for Luis Robert. George Valera has no value. Logan Allen. I don't think Cleveland does that trade, and I don't think Chicago does that trade.
Cleveland doesn't want Luis Robert, and Luis Robert doesn't even he's not even good anymore. The one that Pat brought up, I think, actually makes a bunch of sense too. I think Adolis Garcia, the Rangers have talked about trading Adolis Garcia. They could definitely use a guy like Logan Allen. So that's interesting.
I don't think he's Cleveland's type of guy though. He's got way too much Chase Garcia, and they've avoided that.
He does, but I mean, your options are going to be limited, and I'm not necessarily against taking a chance on a guy like Garcia for Logan Allen. If you're trying to take a gamble at having a bat that's going to help you for the next year and a half.
That's also the thing. I don't think they want to help the Rangers, the team they're trying to get past in the wild card. I think that's also the big holdup is they're not going to be trading a starter.
But are you better with Bieber and Garcia, or are you better with Logan Allen?
They are better. They are better for sure because they have outfield depth with Allen and Garcia out. So you are definitely improving a team you're competing with. So I think those trades are off the table. This team never makes that trade.
No, I'm saying the Guardians would be better with Bieber and Garcia than the Rangers.
Yes, but you've also improved the Rangers, a team that you're competing with. They're not going to improve a team they're competing with. They've never done that. They always try to trade to the National League for a reason.
Well, it's a weird year because of the trade deadline. So I don't know. We'll see what happens.
It's the same trade deadline as the last few years. It's the same thing. I don't think they're going to trade it in the American League. I think if they shift to Allen, it's only NL.
All right, we'll talk more about these trades tomorrow. We'll talk about Guardians and Orioles game 4 if the Guardians can get a 4-game sweep. They are 8 games back to the Tigers, who lost again on Wednesday, so you never know. We'll talk more trade deadline madness, of course. We'll talk about the rumors around Quan, Clase, all that stuff. So we'll continue to cover the trade deadline with a week to go, as well as the Guardians.
Thank you for joining us, and thank you for joining us, and go Guardians.